Quest number 62, the Fremennik Trials. The newly added lands to the north are home to an encampment of barbarians known as the Fremennik. None of the citizens here will speak to me. We talk to Brunt the Chieftain inside the Long Hall. We ask him why nobody will talk to us, and he tells us that speaking to Outerlanders is forbidden in order to avoid wars with the magic users. He tells us the only way around this is if we become Fremennik ourselves. We ask how. He says that we must get a majority vote from their Council of 12 Elders. We start by speaking to Sigli, the huntsman. He says if we demonstrate our skill as a hunter, he will vote for us. He tells us we must track and defeat the Dragon, an evil ghost from their mythology that devours the souls of warriors lost at sea. He explains that it cannot be killed, and each time it devours a soul, it becomes stronger. However, if defeated in battle, it is weakened once again. It is the responsibility of the hunters to constantly weaken the Dragon before it becomes too powerful. He hands me a talisman used to track the Dragon and absorb its essence. I use the talisman, it pulls me towards the southeast. I follow it until I'm taken all the way south of the Sinclair mansion and it appears in front of me. I easily defeat it and absorb its essence into the talisman. We return to Sigli, who agrees to give us his vote. Next, we speak to Swinson the Navigator. Swinson says he will give us his vote if we demonstrate a good sense of direction. We ask how to demonstrate that. He says he's built a maze below his home that we must navigate. The maze is a 16-room grid with 4 portals in each room, seemingly going in random directions. The solution is simple, however. South, west, east, north, south, east, north. Swinson. He greets us on the exit and promises his vote. We speak to some of the other Fremennik elders. Sasilisk's prejudices block her vote, and Inga doesn't like my physical appearance and hygiene. Pontak hates all Outerlanders and tries to send me on a quest to get unobtainable and non-existent items. Agnar does something similar in a request for a ludicrous amount of wealth. We go to the docks and speak with a nameless fisherman who says he will never vote for us. The prejudices and hatred these 5 people have for Outerlanders forces me to get the vote from the other 7. We'll show them. Sigmund the merchant tells us that someone recently brought a flower from a far-off land, and he would like us to demonstrate our mercantile skills in convincing them to part with it. The catch is that he won't tell us who it is. We speak to the sailors at the docks and find the one who has the flower. We offer to buy it, but he says he's going to give it to a woman who he's trying to court. We ask if she could prefer anything else. He says that she is more fond of music, and if we can have someone write a romantic ballad for him, he will part with the flower. We speak to Olaf the Bard, who would be glad to write a ballad, however he is unable to work currently, as his shoes are too worn. He says he will write for us if we give him a new pair. We speak to the clothes shop owner, Irsa, who says she can make a pair. However, she knows that we have a way of talking to Brunt the Chieftain if we're even speaking with her right now. She asks us to persuade Brunt to lower the sales tax placed on the businesses in return for the shoes. Brunt says if he lowers the taxes, then they will have to make up for it elsewhere. If we can get Sigli the Huntsman to share his private hunting grounds with the entire tribe, that would cover the lower taxes. Sigli needs to have his bow improved if he is going to give up his private hunting grounds. He asks for his bow to be restrung with a string made precisely for his bow. We speak to Skullgrimin, the helmet store owner. He says he made Sigli's bow in the first place, so he would be able to get a perfect bowstring for it. He says it is much too expensive for us though, and instead asks for a trade in the strange-looking fish the fisherman caught recently for him to keep as a trophy. The fisherman asks for a secret map of fishing spots that the navigator is keeping. Swinson says he will trade it for a weather forecast from the seer. We speak to Pier the Seer. He asks us to convince someone to be a bodyguard for him in exchange for the forecast. Thorvald the Warrior says he will be a bodyguard if we get him one of the reserved seats at the Champions table in the Long Hall. The only way one of the seats will be free is if one of the revelers dies or gives up their seat willingly. Many of the revelers says he doesn't actually care for his seat, as the music and beer are poor. He says, however, the barkeep is among the best in the world, and he is trying to convince her to give him her invention of the greatest cocktail ever created. She refuses because she does not believe cocktails are appropriate for Fremenniks. She says she'll make it if we get the boy outside to stop coming into her bar at all. Askeladdin agrees to make a promise to stop entering the bar in exchange for 5,000 gold. I then run back through the circuit. Thora gives me the cocktail. Manny says the cocktail was so good he never needs to drink again and gives up his seat. Thorvald agrees to be a bodyguard. Pier gives us the weather report. Swinson gives us the fishing map. The fisherman gives us the strange fish. Skullgrimin gives us the bowstring. Sigli shares his private hunting location. Brunt promises to lower taxes. Irsa gives us the boots. Olaf writes the ballad. The sailor gives us the flower. And Sigmund gives us his vote. Olaf the Bard asks us to impress the people in the Long Hall with song. and he will give us his vote. We leave the village and cut a branch off a windswept tree and carve it into a lyre. We then speak with a nearby troll who is guarding a tree of golden apples and golden fleeced sheep. He says that it's not letting us anywhere near the golden apples, and the last human to come by gave a gift in exchange for the golden wool. We speak with Askeladden, who says he just gave him something to guard the tree. A pet that never sleeps. A pet rock. He gives us a pet rock to try again. Who's a good pet rock? Lolly the troll explains he does not want any more pet rocks, as they will make little baby pet rocks. He also says that the apples are all he has to eat. We make him a delicious pet rock stew, and he gives us the fleece. We spin the fleece into a lyre string and create the lyre. Finally, as we're not at all musically talented, we need to enchant the lyre, of course. We offer a shark to the shrine south of the village. Fosgrimin. Fosgrimin?
Fossegrimen.
Fossegrimin? Fossegrimin, a water spirit, thanks us for the offering and enchants our lyre. We play a song in the long hall and the bard recognizes our talents. I cannot even start to list the amount of foes I've killed. I will simply tell you this: I've joined the Legends Guild. The lyre loses its enchant and we get the bard's vote. Manny the Reveler says he will give us his vote if we beat him in a drinking contest. We take a keg of beer from the table and are demolished in the game of drink. We devise a plan to trick Manny and go to the Seer's village. The poison salesman is selling non-alcoholic beer. We buy a keg, but still need a distraction so Manny doesn't see me swap them. On the way back to Releka, we speak to the man who fixed the bridge, who apparently unlocked this content for us. He says it was very thirsty work. We give him a glass of regular beer, and he gives us a bomb. A literal bomb that he just so happened to find. We plant the bomb in the pipe outside, and while everyone is distracted with burst eardrums, we swap the kegs. We easily defeat Manny with our non-alcoholic beer, and he gives us his vote. Pierre the Seer will vote for us if we can demonstrate our intelligence by solving a puzzle he constructed in his house. He banks all of our items for us, and we go in. The door itself has a riddle on it, with the solution being fire. The first goal is to unlock this chest. We have to put in a very precise amount of water into it to unlock the mechanism. We search around the room and find 2 discs, a red herring, a bucket, and a jug. The bucket has a number 5 on it, and the jug has a number 3. The chest has a number 4 on it. We fill the jug and pour it into the bucket twice, leaving the jug 1/3 full, and dump the water out of the bucket. We pour the jug into the bucket, fill the jug again, and pour it into the bucket, creating a 4/5 full bucket, and pour that into the chest. The chest opens and we find a vase. Shaking the vase, we hear something metallic inside, but the opening is too small to get it out. We fill the vase, but then we need to seal it. We cook the red herring, the coloring peels off when we paint over the blank disc. Downstairs is a mural that is missing 2 red discs. We fill them, and a mechanism releases the vase lid. We seal the vase and freeze it on the table in the corner. The vase explodes, and inside is a frozen key. We melt the key and exit the house. Pierre is amazed and gives us his vote, and we enjoy the perfectly cooked herring. That's 6 votes, 1 to go. Thorvald the warrior is the final council member. He says he will vote for us if we demonstrate our qualities of a warrior by battling someone to the death in his arena, with the condition that I cannot use weapons or armor. We descend and fight Koshai, the Deathless. And defeat him once.
It seems you have some idea of combat after all, Outlander. I will not hold back so much this time.
Twice.
Impressive start, but now we fight for real.
3 times.
You show some skill at combat. I will hold back no longer.
But the 4th battle, he begins swinging his sword with such speed that the battle is close. I victorious in the end and receive his blade. Thorvald promises his vote to us. We return to Brunt and he accepts us into his tribe. We are henceforth known to the Fremenniks as Larger. Quest complete. Quest number 63, Horror from the Deep. North of the Barbarian Outpost, across the basalt outcrop, sits a lighthouse. Outside stands Larissa. She's in distress because her boyfriend, who lives in the lighthouse, has not been seen in days. The lighthouse light has gone out, and the door is locked, something she says he would never do. She also asks us to fix the bridge to the east that was taken out by a storm. We agree to help. She says her cousin Gunnyorn has a spare key to the lighthouse. We go to the bridge and make a rudimentary repair. Then we cross over the basalt again and enter the Barbarian Agility course, which I remember is ran by Gunnyorn. He gives us the key and we return to Larissa. We both enter the lighthouse and find it has been ransacked, along with a blood trail leading to the basement. I am much more interested in going downstairs, but Larissa says we must repair the lighthouse before any shipwrecks happen. We find the light broken, so we repair it using molten glass and swamp tar, then light it. We then go down the ladder and arrive in a natural cave with a strange-looking door. The door has 6 slots, 4 of which are clearly for runes. Inserting the runes makes the slots light up. There's also one of an arrow and a sword. I place a bronze arrow in the Fremennik blade I was given by Koshad the Deathless. We hear a sound of something moving and are allowed through the door. We find Josik injured and scared, warning of creatures coming back. He says he was searching for information on how his uncle disappeared mysteriously from the lighthouse months ago. When he figured out how to get through the door, he was attacked by some sort of monster. We tell him we'll find a way to get him out, but he begs us not to leave him. A creature comes out of the water, and I kill it before it attacks us. We tell Josik he's safe now, but he says that isn't the creature who attacked him. It was just a baby. The mother is just behind it. Time for an intense boss fight. This boss has a special mechanic. Every few seconds, its skin changes color, signifying its soul weakness. It has 6 colors: white for air spells, blue for water spells, brown for earth spells, red for fire, orange for melee attacks, and green for ranged attacks. It emerges with pale white skin, launching vicious spikes from its back that tear into my flesh. I cast my mighty wind spells. Quest complete? I loot a rusty casket, which Josik tells me to bring to him upstairs. He asks me to read what's on it. This is where I get to choose our reward. A book of one of the 3 gods, Saradomin, Zamorak, and Guthix. I tell him it clearly says Guthix, and he opens the chest, revealing a damaged book of balance. The pages are found inside clue scrolls and are rare, so I don't think I'll be completing it anytime soon. Quest number 64, Throne of Miscellanea. The sailor on one of the docks of Releka offers to take me to the Isle of Miscellanea. We sail and arrive in a beautiful and small kingdom. We go into the castle and accidentally commit murder. Nobody saw that. It's okay. She'll respawn, I'm sure. We go upstairs and find a guarded door. The guard says the king has forbidden all audiences except for to respected heroes. We tell him we're a member of the Heroes Guild and he lets us in. Inside, we find a large yeti wearing a crown. We find out that he's the king of these lands. He tells us he was an adventurer just like us, until he took a curse to the yeti. Ah, that was a dated reference. Anyway, King Vargas is looking for someone to act as regent since he believes he is unfit to rule in his current state. We tell him we can rule, and he tells us to demonstrate our worth through diplomacy. He explains that the neighboring kingdom of Etzeteria has been at war with Miscellanea, but they both have lost their appetite for hostilities. He asks us to negotiate peace with their ruler. He also says we must marry into the royal family if we wish to become regent. We travel less than 500 feet and arrive in the kingdom of Etzeteria and speak to Queen Sigrid. She says in order for the war to stop, Etzeteria must be recognized as a sovereign nation. She explains that the war started by her insulting King Vargas' adventuring skills, which he responded by declaring war and proclaiming that Etzeteria belongs to Miscellanea. But there hasn't been any bloodshed, as neither has an army. She also explains that in retaliation of her insult, he went to the Icelands to prove her wrong, and that is where he was cursed. We return to Miscellanea and tell Vargas of Sigrid's demands. He says that Edcetaria must change their national anthem first. We return to Sigrid, who says that the anthem is great and she composed it herself. She says it can be changed if we find a bard to write a new one. We speak with Prince Brand in Miscellanea. He writes a terrible anthem in just a few seconds and gives us a copy. We show it to Advisor Graham and, oh no, he knows we're a murderer. Quick, ignore what he said and he'll forget. It worked! We give him the anthem and he makes it much better. We deliver it to Sigrid, who loves it and gives us a declaration of peace, which must be signed by Vargas. We give him the treaty and he says he'll need a pin large enough for him to hold. We speak to Derek the smith and he says he can make the pin for the king. He makes a nib out of an iron bar and we attach it to some logs. He signs the declaration. He says now we must marry one of his children and gain the support of the populace. We barge into Princess Astrid's bedroom and start putting on the patented RS3 release moves on her. I compliment her 3 times and then buy her some flowers. Before demonstrating my sick dance moves. We compliment her 3 more times and then give her a bow. Compliment her 3 more times, then put my charms on her. And she agrees to marry us. We tell King Vargas, and he says all we must do now is gain the support of the people. We do this through menial labor, with mining coal and donating it to the kingdom. Eventually, this is enough to prove to the people that I am the ruler they've been waiting for. We speak to King Vargas, and he formally recognizes us as Regent of Miscellanea. Quest complete. Quest number 65, Monkey Madness. Back in 2004, and even up through 2007 or so, this was the quest to prove your skills as a player. With the reward being the ability to use the best in slot melee weapon at the time, the Dragon Scimitar. Reactions and resource management, along with a gruelingly long 4-chapter quest. Players with this quest complete were the best at the time. We visit King Narnode of the Gnome Stronghold, and he tells us that the tree is safe, and Gluff was forced to resign. However, his elite squad, the 10th Division, has disappeared. They were ordered to oversee the decommission of Gluff's Karamja shipyard, and were last seen heading there. He tells us to find out if they ever arrived. We head to the shipyard and speak to GLO, or Gnome Liaison Officer, Karanok. He says he's not heard of the 10th Division, but he will oversee the decommission of the shipyard himself and tells us to report to the king. He also mentions that the 10th Division may have been blown off course by strong winds that have started up recently. We report to the king and he gives us orders to deliver to his new head tree guardian, Dayro. We find Dayro at Blairberry's bar. He decodes the orders and says we are to undergo a reconnaissance mission south of Karamja to confirm Karanok's claims of the 10th Division being blown off course. He blindfolds us and leads us to a secret bunker. Inside, he introduces us to Flight Commander Wadar. He tells Wadar once reinitialization has been completed, we will leave. Wadar says that the only one who can do that is Gluff. The reinitialization is much too difficult. We ask what that means. Darrow explains that Gluff left a code which cuts power to the facility if it isn't entered. The code is just a simple 5x5 slider puzzle. We solve the puzzle, and the gliders deploy. Wadar flies us to an island south of Karamja where we find Lumdo, one of the 10th Division. He tells us that they were all indeed blown south of Karamja and all crash-landed here, hence all the crash gliders. He says they found an atoll nearby, and they were going to scout for launch sites. Lumbo stayed behind to guard the gliders. We ask him to take us to the island, but he refuses until Wadar invokes his ranking and tells Lumbo to accompany me to the atoll. We're then shown a cutscene of Karanok talking with the shipyard foreman, and we learn that some of the Gnome Air Force are still loyal to Gluff. In addition, the foreman is putting pressure on Karanok to provide more work to the shipyard. We arrive at the atoll and head towards a gigantic gate. While we run towards it, we are attacked and knocked unconscious by poisoned arrows. We wake up in a jail cell with 3 gnomes in prison nearby. They recommend that we picklock the door and go from there. I do so and spend some time trying to pick the lock of the gnomes as well, but I don't think it's possible, so I make my way out of the jail into the telegrass. We run around a large temple and find Sergeant Garkor. he reveals that he actually asked the king to send a human. And there is more to this mission than we know. He tells us he has been listening in to the ruler of the atoll's plans, Overworld, and he has deduced that they need a monkey on the inside. That's where we come in. He sends us to his mage Zunok to create a disguise. First, to save us a trip, we go to a storage building and find some magical speaking monkey dentures, and search the crates down here for a monkey amulet mold. We teleport, restock, and then make our way back to the atoll. Instead of going into the city, this time we find the entrance to a cave. The cave is full of undead monkeys and traps. If that wasn't enough, the cave itself is unstable and unavoidable rocks fall on us every few seconds. Back on release, this was a very difficult trial to make it through in one run. To show how much easier it is now, I'm simply running without any regard for the undead or the traps and just eating when I feel like it. I ate 5 swordfish. This is what I was talking about earlier with resource management. This used to be one of the hardest things of the quest. If you didn't come prepared, you couldn't make it all the way through. Not anymore. At the end of the cave, we find 3 more of the 10th Division, one of them being Zunok. He explains that he is working on digging into this cave, which should lead underneath the jails to free the 3 in prison there. We tell him of Sergeant Garkor's plans of making a disguise for us, and Zunok tells us that the sergeant literally wants us to turn into a monkey. He explains that Garkor had King Narnod sent specifically for us because they can only transform humans into monkeys because of their similar physiology. There are 2 steps to this. Step 1 is to create a means of communications with the monkeys. He suggests using a monkey amulet, which he will enchant for us. Second is to bind the transformation spell into some sort of monkey talisman. We give him all the items for the first step. He takes the magic within the dentures and infuses it into the gold bar, and he says we must forge it somewhere with spiritual significance, the monkeys. We once again teleport out and make our way back to the atoll, this time getting captured again. We break out and go into the temple and find our way into the basement, which is another cave full of zombies. We find a huge fire and smelt the gold in there. We mold the gold bar and string the amulet, creating the amulet of monkey speak. Next we head into a building full of knife throwers and sneak around into a connecting banana farm with a monkey child inside. We need to speak with him, but his aunt is patrolling, and if she sees us, she calls for the guard. We wait for her to leave, and then speak with the monkey child. He says he's not supposed to talk to strangers. We tell him we're a monkey's uncle, and he believes us. He says his aunt is going to give him a toy once he picks all the bananas he's supposed to. We pick 5 for him, and then wait for his aunt to go around one more time. We talk to the child again, and he's playing with his new toy. We ask to borrow it, and he gives us a monkey talisman. We immediately tell him we lost it, and he starts to cry. After the ant goes around one more time, he's given another, which he lets us borrow again. We repeat this process 2 more times, getting 4 talismans. We need to enchant the talismans with the remains of a monkey. We already have the bones of a Karamjan monkey that we kept in the Taibawanai Trio quest, so we just need gorilla, ninja, and zombie bones. The gorilla is simple enough, but I want the medium ninja bones, so I had to get the guards called on me, kill the leader, then loot the bones. I got caught on each of these steps individually. Lastly, the zombie bones I can gather on the way back to Zunok. We traverse the cavern once again and give the talismans and remains to Zunok. While he's working on casting the spell, we are shown another cutscene. Waydar and Karanok are talking about their responsibility to continue where Gluff left off. They plan to kill off all of the 10th Division, blaming it on the humans in an effort to get Narnod to promote Waydar and give more work to the shipyard, as well as putting a larger focus on the human aggression with King Balrin and Khazard from the Tree Gnome Village quest. Zunok hands us a monkey Grigri, which, when we hold it, transforms us into a monkey. We have him create the other 3 as well, and combine them into a single item, allowing us to transform into a gorilla, ninja, zombie, and Karamjan monkey. We once again teleport out and go to restock on supplies. Ooh, fire making level. This time the monkeys allow us through the gate and we're allowed free roam in the city of Merim. We return to Sergeant Garkor, ready to move on with his plans. He asks us to speak with King Owawogai as an envoy of the Karamjan monkeys seeking an alliance. We ask the guard nearby for an audience with the king, but he says we must first get permission from the head of the guard, Kruk. We find Kruk guarding the gate into Merim. We tell him we're an envoy and he leads us into Overworld's chambers. We make our plea to Overworld, and although he regards Karamja monkeys as inferior, he says he's heard of their resourcefulness, which he wants to put to the test by freeing one of their Karamja monkeys from the zoo of Ardoyan. We go to the zoo and find our Grigri works fine there. We transform into a monkey and speak with the monkey minder, who places us into the cage. We speak with one of the monkeys inside and offer to take her back to Karamja. She accepts, and we place her into our backpack, then return to human form. The monkey mire sees us and helps us out of the cage. We return to the atoll and show Overworld our success. He says he will deliberate our proposal of peace. We report back to Garkor, who says our efforts may be in vain, as Karanok and Wadar are already in contact with Overworld. Zunok and the sappers in the cave overheard their plot to assassinate the 10th Division by teleporting all of them to one place and using one of Gluff's pets to dispose of them. Overworld is responsible for setting up the arena. Garkor says he and Zunok came up with a plan. Since all of the division will be teleported, this will effectively break out the 3 captives from jail, and he believes that with our help, the 10th Division can take whatever is thrown at us. Zunok devised that the spell is linked to the sigils that each of the division carry, and that we simply need to wear one ourselves to help them. We wear the sigil and are teleported into a subterranean arena, where a jungle demon is waiting for us. Once again, like the rest of the quest, the numbers are just way easier than back on release. The demon barely does any damage to me, and I kill it in just a few hits without using a single piece of food. Back on release, this demon would hit up to 32, or 320, which is more than half of my health. Now it's a laughable 74, which is less than a quarter of what it used to be able to hit. Zunok teleports us out, and we return to Narnode. We tell him there were no casualties, and he rewards us with 10,000 gold and 3 diamonds. Quest complete. Afterwards, the king tells us that we must complete the 10th Squadron's training regimen, and to speak with Dairo. He completes our training, and we are given a ton of XP. The first master-leveled quest completed. Thanks for watching, and if you made it to the end, consider subscribing. That's honestly the best thing you could do for me, and I appreciate it so much. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.